Blog Talk Radio.
Hello, everyone. This is Chrism, and I'd like to welcome you to this Blog Talk Radio program. Looks like I have one caller coming in. Looks like I have two callers coming in. Anyway, I am here in Pennsylvania on the eastern seaboard in one of the 13 colonies of the original United States, and calling you on this extremely hot, humid day that they have out here in July. You know, they get the four seasons out here, the really, really hot summers, cold winters, and everything in between. And so I'm in the middle of this hot summer. And I just want to say hello and welcome to this program for everybody. It's nice to see the callers, nice to know that I'm not talking to the air. I haven't been able to turn the chat room on because this is only the second time that I've used this with my phone. And my iPad ran out of juice, and so I'm doing this on the cell phone, the iPhone. And so it's nice to see the callers. I wish I could see the chat room people too, but I don't think that's an option for me. And I don't know if Amelia is even going to be able to. She's trying right now to connect. But I'm here at a cafe called Panera's in Pennsylvania. And the one thing that I'm given to start to talk with you about, well, first of all, let me see if the sound is coming through and that I'm not talking to the air. And I think Joey looks like she's called in twice. Let me bring Joey on here. Joey, can you hear okay? Is this coming through all right? Hello, Joey?
I can hear you.
Oh, you can hear me okay, Joey?
Oh, fine.
Oh, excellent. Thank you, my dear. All right, yeah. I mean, I can't get a hold of Amelia or anybody, and so yours is the number that I recognize. So thank you, my dear.
Mhm.
Okay, all right. Coming back to the show then. I will go through some of the numbers first here. Let's see, just to make sure people are calling in with questions and questions about their Kundalini. And hello, caller. This is the 520256 number. Do you have a question that I can help you with?
This is my first time listening. I was going to listen.
Hi. Well, welcome to the program. No, that's perfectly okay. You called in just to listen, correct?
Yeah, and then if I do, I'll press 1 right now. I haven't thought of anything yet.
No, that's quite all right. I usually have an assistant here with me, and I don't today, so I'm handling all of these phone calls first, my dear. You go ahead and listen, and blessings to you. And okay, well, that's good. That's good to know there. And then we're coming here over to the 848459 number. Hello, caller. Can you hear me?
Yes, hi, Chrism. How are you?
Good. Who am I speaking with?
This is Tyra.
First name. This is Talia?
Tyra, Tyra, Tyra.
Tyra. Hi, Tyra. Do you have a question for the program that I can help you with?
It's really like a general question that I keep hearing that sometimes Kundalini can really damage your brain and your psycho or whatever. And my question, yeah, exactly. People go whimsical. The other question I had is that I hear people do Shaktipat, and my question is, when somebody gives Shaktipat, are we trying to initiate things that soul's journey was not yet ready for? It's like some expedited process, And if somebody goes through that, what can be the negative effect? Because I've heard that Kundalini is very, very strong power.
Yes. Well, you're absolutely correct. It is a very, very, very strong power. It's in my opinion, it's one of the strongest powers that a human can bring into the body from a natural source within the body. And was your question, what can people expect? Is that what your question was?
Yeah, my question is it the right way to get a Shaktipat? And there's so many people out there who claim to give Shaktipat all over the world.
I see.
Right. My parents also try to get Shaktipat, and I don't know if that's the right thing to do or not. Can it be harmful when you go to Shaktipat instead of your Kundalini awakening on its own when your soul is mature enough?
Well, now this is a good question. It's an excellent question, Tyra. Thank you. And I'll go ahead and give a response to that, okay?
Okay, thank you.
All right, very good. Very good. And I'm going to put you in the blue here. And Tyra's question is an extremely important question here. Is somebody ready to have the most powerful, energetic, spiritual consciousness experience that a human can have when they go in and decide to have Shaktipat? When is that appropriate? Now, as she mentioned, people are giving Shaktipat all over the world. I'm giving Shaktipat 4 times a year. Is it appropriate for just anybody to go in and when they receive a Shaktipat and they start going crazy because they haven't done any emotional work and they haven't done any kind of surrender work, the guru that's giving them Shaktipat isn't supporting them through any kind of teaching. He's just waving his hand and giving them a Shaktipat. Are they ready? And I'm going to say absolutely not. They are not ready to have it. But they're getting it anyway. Sometimes, let me back up a little bit here. I get chastised quite a bit for being a teacher of Kundalini, and a lot of the people that awaken their Kundalini or activated their Kundalini, they'll come to me and they'll say, you're so egotistical, calling yourself this and that, and teacher of Kundalini, master Chrism, all of that stuff. When you and I both know that it's the Kundalini that is the master, and I don't disagree with them one bit, except for their calling me egotistical about it. Kundalini is the teacher. It is the master teacher. It is what teaches others through this terrible vehicle called Chrism. Okay? I have no illusions about what is doing the actual teachings. When I come on this program, and Centaur is there, and she's handling the switchboard and all of that, and I literally surrender and stream the consciousness of grace, Kundalini, through me. And this is what gives the teachings, not the flesh teacher Chrism, okay? Now, when these people come into a guru's presence and the guru intentionally gives them Shaktipat and yet does not offer them any teachings, well, what is going to occur for that person is the Kundalini is going to begin to give them teachings. And the Kundalini is a powerful, powerful teacher. Let me also ask some. Oh, look at that. Oh, there's Centaur. Wow. Hi, Centaur. Nice to see you. Just a second. Now I need to ask. Let me bring Tyra back on here. Tyra.
Yes,
Tyra.
yes, I'm here. Chrism, I'm here.
Tyra, can you hear other people in the background with me? I'm supposed to have a noise-canceling microphone. Is it working?
I don't hear anybody but you.
Oh, that's perfect. Thank you, ma'am. All right, I'm going to continue answering your question here, but I'm going to keep you I'm going to keep you open, okay? I want you on the microphone here, Tyra.
Okay.
So when people get Shaktipat from a guru and there is no instruction, there is no training, there's nothing going on, but here, my child, come in front of me and I will give you the Shaktipat, the Holy Grace upon thee, I will hand it to you. All of that. And it actually works. Most of the time, it doesn't even work. But if it does work and that person does get Shaktipat, they will indeed go through a period of what would seem to be craziness. They will lose their mind, literally. And it doesn't damage the brain, Tyra. In fact, it is very healthy for the brain. It is very healthy for the individual completely, but the only part that it's not healthy for is a person's interaction with society. They do not think in the same egotistical standards or ways that they would have thought before. They don't operate their lives through the fear of loss or the want of gain. No longer are they shielded from the spiritual realm that reaches out from us in an infinity of expression. No longer is the veil of separateness protecting them from, the many visions, the many spiritual creation and consciousness that actually permeates this world. And what most people who don't have Kundalini awakened, they'll commonly see, they'll sit in a cafe right now, like I'm sitting in a cafe, and they'll just see the chair across from them, people coming in and out of the cafe. They'll see their cup of tea, they'll see their pen, their paper, whatever. And that's what they see. They won't see beyond that. They won't see the many entities in the room. They won't see the many spiritual formations within the room and outside the room. They will not see beyond this earth into the matrix of the divine tapestry that surrounds us all the time. But those who receive that gift of Shaktipat begin to see that. And one of the reasons why they go crazy, or they seem to go crazy, is because they don't know how to process the information that they're receiving. The Kundalini is a natural force. It is a natural force within us. It is as natural as our hair and our teeth and our blood. It is what we are here to do. It is why we live so many different lives. That is what we're here to do, is to refine our soul to the degree that we can have the Kundalini begin to awaken within us. And we can open ourselves to the many multiple dimensions of spiritual consciousness that permeate this world and other worlds and other galaxies and star systems and dimensions. Are you with me, Tyra?
Yes, I'm here. I just put you on mute so you don't hear background noise from my side. But then the question comes to my mind. The question comes to my mind is, if this is a great energy within us, then why we need a third person to come and wake it up? Won't it wake it up on its own? Like, for example, a baby is born, the baby doesn't have teeth. 10 months later, baby is going to start showing us teeth in his mouth or her mouth when the time is right. So this is where I get all confused.
I understand. Well, here, let me address that question as well. Sure. Thank you. A very good question once again. You're doing very well, Tyra. Okay.
I'm not trying to put you on the spot here, but I keep seeing that people run to the masters, and I'm like, I don't see anything in their life or their personality that kind of matches for them to have this Kundalini awaken.
These are all very good questions, and they help many people who will be listening to this in the future. So thank you once again for asking this question. Why should anybody receive Shaktipat at all? Won't Kundalini just activate when the time is right? And it will indeed. But we also have the opportunity to make a choice to come into greater spiritual awareness. And the door to that greater spiritual awareness will be the Kundalini. And the Kundalini can be activated through someone like myself or someone, some of the other people in this world that do this work. The difference between myself and these people is that I give a program for people to follow, and I think some of the other people do as well. But why do this at all? Why not just let Kundalini come? Well, in some ways, Tyra is using the analogy of the baby is born, and, for a certain amount of time, the baby doesn't have teeth, and then the baby grows teeth. Well, the same analogy with the Kundalini is the person is born into their 10,000th life, and, before that, they didn't have the teeth. They didn't have the ability. They didn't have the spiritual refinement. They weren't in a position of soul refinement to be able to have the Kundalini. And just as the baby grows the teeth after a certain amount of time, so does the person come into the viability of having Kundalini for the first lifetime in all of those other lifetimes. And it's just a different expression of what we see as time. It's a temporal difference. Tyra is using a matter of months and years to describe how a baby is born, and then a baby goes through those months. Actually, I think it's just months, weeks and months, before the baby teeth begin to appear. Well, the difference between Tyra's analogy and my analogy is really the amount of time, weeks and months. Weeks and months to the Kundalini refinement opportunity for a person comes into lifetimes. So when hundreds of thousands of years, then the person is ready to develop those baby Kundalini teeth on a soul level. Do you understand, Tyra?
Yes.
Now, so the question.
But this is what comes to my mind.
It's all good. It's all good, my dear. And so the grace doesn't just come in one way. I mean, you'll notice how many different religions we have on this world. We have shaman religions. We have Christianity. We have Hinduism. We have Zoroastrianism. We have Buddhism, and all the different religions that we have on this world. And these are all different pathways of spiritual refinement towards levels of grace. They all lead to the top of the mountain, but they're different pathways to the top of the mountain. And the Kundalini is what occurs when you reach the top of a mountain within a spiritual refinement context. So a person is given many different pathways for illumination to be given, such as, one is Shaktipat, two is having a catastrophic emotional breakdown, like a heartbreak or a death in the family, like a death of a child or something like that, catastrophic. Another one is to have a very severe physical accident happen to the individual, an automobile accident or a sporting accident or something that troubles the lower end of the spine, and that can activate the Kundalini in a person. Another way is to take certain kinds of plants or funguses that excite certain areas in the body, and that also can begin a Kundalini process within a person. It's not just Shaktipat. And the very fact that there are so many different ways to trigger a Kundalini enlightenment process within a person just indicates that grace is bountiful. Grace doesn't hold back. This is not, it's only a secret to those who are not ready within a refinement to have the Kundalini. And those that do get it, either through recreational drugs or an accident or emotional meltdown or Shaktipat or whatever it may be, these people are ready to have it, or it would not activate within them. But it's not going to be an easy ride. It will not always be fun and pleasant, and you will not typically get to keep the normal consciousness that you live your life by today. The unawakened lifestyle is very different from the awakened lifestyle. When the ancient people, the ancient priests and priestesses would call Kundalini, the effect of Kundalini is having your eyelids ripped off. No longer are you shielded by your eyelids or the veil. You see everything now. You see everything. You feel everything. You know everything. But you don't know it within the egoic or the ego psychology context. And that is what this world operates within, is the ego context. And so Kundalini in many different ways cross as a very, very difficult equation because it doesn't really care about the ego. All right, now it looks like I might still be on here. Thank you, Tyra, for these questions. I hope that answered your question to some degree.
Thank you. No, it does. So what I'm hearing is that even though all people are given Shaktipat, not everybody will be activated. Only if Kundalini will decide that whether this person is ready or not.
Exactly. That's exactly correct. Kundalini decides. And let me tell you, once again, it's not always going to be a pretty picture with people floating around with, on silver clouds, throwing flower petals upon everybody. It's just not going to be that way. It can be very difficult because the ego does not give up easily.
No, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right.
Right. And that is what causes the injury. That is what causes the fear and the confusion and many of the other ailments that people have within the Kundalini syndrome.
Correct. Well, thank you so much for explaining. Appreciate it. Good to know everything.
You're very welcome, Lady. You're very welcome. Thank you for asking the questions too. Great questions. And here we go, putting Tyra into the blue and bringing Her Holiness, the Queen of Celtic Kundalini, Amelia Santara. Hello, Santara.
Hi, Chrism. Hello, everybody. It's good to be here. Eventually.
It's good to have you here. Yeah, I don't even know. Can you ask the chat people? Can you ask the chat people if we're even being heard?
Oh, I asked them that before I even got on, Chrism. Yes, you are being heard. You're obviously not seeing the chat room, so I'm going to call out a question from Rachel. She says, Chrism.
Hello, Rachel.
I am now... Rachel Burnett, yes, she's on our groups. I am now away from the person who gave me Shaktipat and feel very alone. How to get back to myself? Question.
Well, Rachel, now that's a very interesting question, especially the way you phrased it. Kundalini is constantly taking you out of what you once knew as yourself. And your question is, how do I get back to myself? So that's a very, very difficult equation. I'm going to suggest that you will not get back to yourself and that you shouldn't try to get back to yourself. What you should try to begin to do is to surrender to the grace that you have now activated within you. Surrender to the grace of the Kundalini and open yourself to its manifestations within you. You will not feel the way you once felt. And in many ways, you will feel alone because there aren't that many people that have this grace flowing through them. And I'm glad that you were able to get some separation from the person that gave you Shaktipat. But I do feel that the best scenario for you, Rachel, is to begin to enjoy what is happening. Don't look for community so much. Don't look to see like, oh yes, we're all in a church and we got our hands up over our heads and we're swaying right to left. Kumbaya, my Lord. Kumbaya, passing the dish, put the money in the dish. No. In many ways, the Kundalini is a very, very solitary experience because it's an inside-out change. It's an inside-out manifestation of grace, and it's the inner workings of the psychology and the egotism that is associated with the way we think and the way we desire and what we want, what we don't want, what we fear, what we don't fear. These are the areas that need to change first. And, in many ways, this is something that must happen alone. But I mean, there's also room for other people, certainly other Kundalini people. So, one of the best things that you can do is to go on the groups that we have here and make contact, or at least read what other people are doing and what, how they're approaching the new self that the Kundalini is generating within them. The new self, the new psychology, the new emotions, the new activities based upon a wider understanding of the wisdom of life and the wisdom of the ancient world. Before people were so stuck on cell phones or, nuclear warheads or, the different commercial aspects of what this society has produced for us that we're born into right now, that we agreed to come into and then have our Kundalini awakened within. And so you need to really begin to widen your perspective, Rachel. Widen your perspective. Don't look outside so much for comfort. Look within for that comfort. And stay connected to the Kundalini people in your life. Not necessarily the person that gave you the Shaktipat, but go on the groups and read the various people that are posting there and compare what's happening to you and what's happening to them, and don't be afraid to ask a question or to be to reach out to a person and say, hey, my name's Rachel, and I share a lot of your the experiences that you've had. I'm not saying have a date with them or anything, but you can just talk about it. And, it can be very, very helpful to talk about these scenarios. Just make sure that you aren't so, well, let me back up a little bit. Sometimes when we're trying to find ourself again, what we're really trying to do is we're trying to reclaim who we once were, because we feel so out of sorts. We feel so alone. And so we reach back in time and we go, wow, back then I was a really happy person, and am I still there? Is myself still here? I think so. Just checking my phone here.
You are.
Am I still there? Okay, all right. Talking to the air again.
Yeah.
You're reaching back in time and trying to reclaim that which once made you feel comfortable, which once made you feel secure. And what I'm going to suggest is that no longer is that available to you. So stop reaching back and trying to reclaim the past. Instead, reach within and claim the present moment. Claim the new changes that are occurring to you right now. Claim those as your own. Don't listen to any entities. Don't, do things that are detrimental to yourself or to other people. In many ways, you have to live the wisdom of a saint. And you may be thinking, oh, gosh, I'm not a saint. That's such a evolved spiritual blah, blah, blah. And no, but you're becoming one. You're in the saint school, okay? And you need to start accepting that and acknowledging that classroom. And you may not graduate all in 1 minute, and literally, your classroom is going to last your entire lifetime. So don't try to find yourself. The Kundalini self has already found you. And this is what I will suggest that you begin to embrace, Rachel. And thank you for asking that excellent question. Go ahead, Santara. Are there other ones?
No, Chrism, that's the only one there. People just are listening. You've got Vicky, Rachel, Michelle, Manisha, Guest 517, and Emma on the chat room at the moment. So, guys, if you'd like to ask Chrism a question, please type in there and I will call it out to him. And I suppose, Chrism...
First of all, before we go any further, I want to congratulate you, Santara, on the excellent program that you gave last week. And I want to say thank you for doing that and for giving people the blessings and grace that are there within you to give. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome, Chrism. Indeed.
Yeah. Now, tell us, how is the entity treating you these days?
The entity, yeah, I have to say it has got quieter.
Now, let's just back up a little bit and give people an idea what it is we're talking about. Centaura's had the Kundalini for many, 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 many years, and she has gone through the many different phases that Kundalini has to offer, and she's been giving selfless service to people, and she's been, writing excellent articles and things of that nature for many, 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 many years. But one of the aspects of her awakening has been to have a dark, evil entity attach itself to her and try to totally corrupt her Kundalini consciousness transformation and equation. Is that about right, Centaura?
Yeah, that is right, Chris. Yeah, it is. It's been, I suppose I've had entities before, intrude a little, and but this one has been full on, in my face, in my ear, in my head, in my visuals, in my thoughts, and yes, sometimes extremely difficult, with its incessant intrusion and thought process and pushing me, and latching onto my ego as well, and using that,
right.
which seems to increase its ability maybe to connect to me or something, or I hear it more maybe when it uses my ego as well,
Exactly.
So yeah, that's it.
And so, and you've been able to initiate certain levels of control over that, and I want to know, how is that going for you, my dear?
It's going well, Chrism. Well, in inverted commas. I'm doing the reversals, like what I spoke of last week. Somebody rang in last week, I think it was David, and they were talking about the crucible of reversal, which I have used in very intense situations. But I'm finding that throughout my day, I've had to just use reversals all the time, and as well as using my mantra. The reversals really helped me. I'd be lost without them, Chrism, because it's the automatic, it's like my default system. And it's just beyond helpful, because I'm doing the reversals even though there are times and I'm not believing it, if that makes sense. And the same with my mantra. And so it rescues me from the, let's call it, engagement with the entity, or connecting into what it is it's trying for me to.
Well, it would have tried to introduce you to a wider web of deceit and corruption, and I think that it's good what you're doing. Keep doing it, and even expand it if you can. I mean, ladies and gentlemen, this is what Saint. What's her name out of Germany there? Saint.
Oh, Hildegard.
Yeah, Saint Hildegard had this. Saint Hildegard. Was it Saint Hildegard of? Yeah, I think it was Saint Hildegard. What?
I don't know. Saint Hildegard of
Bingham. What did you just say? Is that
Saint
Hildegard of Bingham? Is that?
I think so.
Ask the chat room.
Okay, guys.
Saint Hildegard had this happen, and I think Cole would know the answer to that. But Saint Hildegard, I think Saint Hildegard. There's another word for her name, I think. But anyway, one of these lady saints, female saints, had this exact thing happen to her, and she was a nun. She was a head, a Mother Superior nun in the 10th century in Bingham, Germany, and she had the Kundalini awaken, but she also had these entities come to her that would just say, yeah, we're of the devil and we're going to corrupt you, blah blah blah, things like that, and they were in her head 24/7. Can't get it out, don't know what to do, but the credo or the activities of service for other people and prayer work and holy work and sacred work was what was able to save her from falling into corruption. And this will happen to Kundalini awakening people. And this is why, she could do a lot of different things as she grew in her power with the Kundalini and she, continued to do this work. She developed some very sacred skills that science cannot explain. And this will happen to Kundalini people. And so it's very important for people to understand that even though you may have this trauma going, happening to your life, like Tyra asked about people, they get the Shaktipat and they start going crazy. Well, as they begin to embrace the Kundalini and they begin to understand how they fit into this world of egotism and how, Kundalini people are literally points of divine sacred light upon this world. Light and love and charity and grace upon this world. That as you start to embrace that, you begin to develop balance within the equation. Just like you, Centaur, as you do these reversals and you do your mantra and you continuously give to others and help other people, like with the cancer patients that you work with and people like that, that you will begin to have a balance in your life that is very provocative and very, very, very potent in its ability to equalize some of the pressures that having an entity like you're having, or just some of the pressures that some people would have by even having Kundalini would have. So yeah.
Well,
Excellent.
all the things that I'm doing, Chrism, that have come through your teaching as well, these would have been things that I would have been doing and on some level succeeding and not with my process anyway. So they have just become much more 24/7 now because that's what has been given for me to do with the entity, and grateful for that. Like in the last week and a half or so, there has been a change, but I'm also very aware that the change can be a deception too, and so I am not. It is backed away, let's say, and I have had some. But I'm very aware that it's very deceptive, and therefore I am still doing a lot of work that I had been doing because I can feel the need to keep on doing it, Chrism. And what you're saying about increasing service, doing that as well in small ways throughout my day, just small little ways.
Especially small ways, opening a door for somebody, smiling at somebody, helping somebody across the street, letting somebody cut in front of you with a car, you're on the road. So many different ways, small, tiny little ways that we begin to spread grace throughout this world by virtue of having the Kundalini, and you're in the same boat really as Saint Hildegard, Amelia, without the Catholicism, Oh, maybe you do have some of that, but you do have that challenge, and the challenge and the way you're meeting the challenge is really a blessing to see, and I want to give you a kudo, but not so much that it brings the ego up. Because that's what that entity will feed off of, is the ego.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
So this really illustrates, I think this illustrates in a great way what I was saying with regards to Tyra and the many different ways that the Kundalini changes the psychology and the emotional reality of people that get a Shaktipat or become suddenly infused with Kundalini. It can be very, very, very powerfully disorienting, and yet there's a very specific sacred purpose behind this. And this is what people need to understand, is that within that sacred purpose, it's going to, in many ways, contradict what the world of egotism has to offer and how we live our life within the world of egotism. Egotism and competition and jealousy and, the different levels of enjoyment that is given at the cost of somebody else's dignity or the cost of somebody else's happiness, the cost of somebody else's serenity. The way we laugh at people that are different from us, or hate people that believe differently than we do, or the different levels of desire, the pornography or the corrupted desires that come with people that enjoy watching animals rip themselves to shreds, like the dog fights or the chicken fights or the human fights. This world of egotism is a very, very, very big challenge. And, to a person that has the Kundalini flowing through them, to be a witness to some of these challenging things can be a very, very devastating experience. And so it's very important for people to begin to adopt the strategy of grace, the strategy of what you're doing, Amelia Santara, of what other people have done, like Saint Hildegard of Bingham or Yogananda from India, or Teresa of Avila, exactly, and Kuan Yin of China, and the untold shamans of Siberia and South America. Yeah. I mean, this is the strategy of Kundalini living is what I'll be talking about next week. I think it's an incredibly, and that's going to be like a 4-part thing. See, I'm just being given this right now.
I love it.
That's so, oh my God. Anyway, so yeah, there's a very, very, very specific strategy. And Amelia, you're living an aspect of that strategy. You are living it. But, just because you have that entity and it's in trying to infect your Kundalini because it's working through your ego, at the very same time, your ego is being driven or ground down, continuously ground down to a point where it will not be recoverable. Already, in a way, it's not recoverable. But it will be ground down to a point where it will merge into the divine strategy that you're adopting right now. You will become your mantra. You will become the safeties. They will be the new lifestyle for you. And that will shine brighter than any of the egotistic strategies of life within this world that you're surrounded with there in Ireland right now. Weird, huh?
Wow.
Don't know if you like that. Huh?
No, that's because I've been thinking about ego a lot, and how in many ways ego itself, when you're using, if I can use that term, strategy that you've used there, when I'm using the strategies, well then ego itself in many ways is the one that is kind of setting the agenda through not intending to, because it's the very thing that it has to be taught, that which is.
Well, I see what you're saying. Is what you're kind of saying, to put it in a different way, is in order to jump over a hurdle, you have to have a hurdle.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And ego is that hurdle. But eventually, you won't need that hurdle anymore, and that hurdle will be transformed. Let's just say you'll grow wings, so you won't need to jump.
Well,
you know what I'm saying?
Wow. Okay. Yeah.
No?
Yeah, wow. No, I do, Chrism. It's like, it seems a very long way away, I like
Well,
the
yeah,
sound
it
of it.
is and it isn't. It is and it isn't. I mean, that entity that you have is a blessing. The entity that Cole has is a blessing. The entity that Vincent is that is a harder blessing. It's a very hard blessing. And so, these entities, they have purposes that they themselves do not even know that they serve. Some of them do know. Some of them do know, but they're never going to tell you. They're never going to tell you because that's not their job. Their job is to corrupt you. And telling you, the secret of your control over them is not what they're there to do. And so you'll never get a truthful answer from an entity of that nature. And once again, if you go back into the 14th century, Bremelin the mage, he described a system of sorcery that was all about using demons to do good work because that was their punishment. It would be like using a saint to do bad works. That would hurt the saint because the saint is, there to do good and loving, truthful things. And what a Bremelin, the mage, was doing was using demons to do good work because that is what their punishment from God was and is. So it's, there's resonance to this type of spiritual refinement protocol going back thousands of years, really, back into Babylon as well. Except in Babylon, they kind of like screwed things up.
Chrism,
anyway,
may I ask, are you saying that the entity is hurt by the work that it's being done, that it's being forced to witness or
no,
to experience?
in your case, the entities, there's two things going on. The Kundalini is allowing the entity to have its presence there, if not actually constructing its presence there within you, right?
Yes.
The Kundalini can be actually creating a birth within you so that entity can stay there and torment you. Because she knows that I'm going to counsel you in very specific ways, you being my student. She knows I'm going to say to do this, this, and that. She knows that you're going to do this, this, and that. And so she knows that the Sacred Mother knows that, as that entity goes into you, it puts you into such a disturbed state of affairs that all your red flags are going to come up. Panic and fear are going to begin to set in, and it, these qualities will begin to meld you and glue you to a very specific set of protocols that you will not forget to do. You see, we don't learn so well when we're not under pressure, but when we've got the pressure of such horrid experiences staring at us, well, we're going to do the work that we need to do in order to ameliorate that, right, Amelia?
Yes. Yeah. Yes. Absolutely.
And so,
yeah.
that is one way to see it. Now, does this entity have feelings? Does it have, only you can really tell, and you'll only be able to really tell later on in the process, I think. But its job is to corrupt you. Do you hurt it by doing good things? I don't know. I think by doing the good, like doing the reversals, can be very painful. If that kind of an entity can even experience pain, you got to have a body to experience pain, right? You've got to have some sort of sensorial mechanism in order to experience things that we describe within a sensory-based description, right? Right? You've got to have a body. So does it have a body? No, not really. It has a spiritual body. It has a consciousness, but I'm not sure that equates into physical irritation or pain or anything like that. I don't know that it has that. I know that it has an agenda, And if what you do goes against that agenda, then its agenda is not being met, and that can be construed as a form of failure. Are you with me?
Yeah, I am, Chrism. I'm wondering, I suppose, too, because I was in the water in the sea the last time there, since I spoke with you last, and I just felt a huge movement within me that wasn't me rise up, it was like a yuckiness, and move right up through my body, and I don't know whether that was I felt it was the entity. And I wondered, was that it feeling stuff? I don't know. I tried not to think too much about it, actually. I just went with what was happening, stayed with my mantra, allowed it to, didn't resist it coming up and moving up into my throat and out. But it was really big. It was bigger than, it was big.
Yeah, well, I would not suggest that it is gone.
No, I'm not suggesting
and I
that
think
at
you,
all. It's not gone.
I think you know that it's not gone.
No, I agree. No, I know that.
But
I know that.
I do feel that an aspect of that yuckiness was a part of you that no longer can reside within you by virtue of this work.
Oh, okay. Yeah. That's.
Yeah.
I do.
Like a tremendous detox, but in the form of an energetic form.
Yes, and it was like a form. I kind of had energetic vomiting before, but this was actually it was like a form. It was big. It was
right.
It was the form, Chrism.
Right. And so it's going to continue. So what this is telling you is that what you're doing is working. So you keep it up, and don't let go for a single second. You have to do this 24/7. Change the way you think. Change the way you respond to the egotistic world. Change yourself into a saint, and let that be okay with you. Give yourself permission to be Saint Amelia.
It's amazing how yeah, I understand what you're saying, because there's a sort of a resistance to that within me,
I know.
To dismiss that.
And that's a fabrication.
Yeah.
That's a fabrication of the Catholic Church in your case. Give yourself total permission to be that high spiritual consciousness, and don't allow yourself to be dissuaded by the egotistic world.
Okay, Chrism.
Okay, you follow that path a long, long way. Any questions in the chat room?
No, let me just double check. No, Rachel says that she has to go. She's enjoyed being with us, and she'll see us on the group. I'd like to say something, Chrism, just about the Shaktipat, if I may, that
Sure.
Excuse me, that Kayla brought up. She was speaking about the Shaktipat in terms of it activating a person. But for me and for other people that are your students or that are not, that have had the Kundalini activated already or awakened, we can also receive a Shaktipat. And Kundalini in that case also does exactly what you were saying. It decides through the Shaktipat from Chrism each day what it is that we need to work with, and the grace that we are going to receive, and because it knows what is necessary for us, and that that's another aspect of the Shaktipat. It's not always about activating a person, in my experience anyway.
Right. No, absolutely. The Kundalini decides, and if that person is practicing those safety protocols. You see, the other people that I know that are giving Shaktipat, many of them don't have any kind of a strategy or a protocol to follow that is enjoyed or encouraged by the Kundalini, and so people are kind of left to flounder. Whereas the Shaktipat that we do, there is a strategy, there is something to do, there is something for the ego mind to remember and to create and to allow the Shaktipat to occur through. And this is the practice of the safety. This is why they're so important. This is why there's such a key element of the Shaktipat itself, is because the Shakti, first of all, the Shakti even created them. She created those. I didn't create those. She pulled from every system in the world that I know of. She pulled from Buddhism, Christianity, shamanism, all of them. And she merged them into a system, a protocol that allows Kundalini to be nurtured and supported, and allows the consciousness to be changed, nurtured, and supported towards the affiliation and the transformation of grace. So you're with grace. You're affiliated with grace now. You're affiliated with the Kundalini. And because of that affiliation, you're being transformed by that affiliation to Kundalini. And let me tell you, as I was saying earlier with Tyra, that is not always an easy equation. That can blow all your circuits. And then she'll put you into a really, really hard school with a really, really hard teacher. And a teacher that is just going to obliterate your levels of egotistic self-worth, egotistic self-identity, all the way across the board. You're going to be destroyed in these ways because she doesn't want you to have that. And she knows that you can't go far into divine grace still clinging to egotism. It's not going to work. It's got to be ground down and merged first. You know what I mean? Hello? Anybody there?
Yes, Chris.
Hello? Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I'm going to go over to the switchboard, Chrism, because there's somebody after calling in, and I'm going to check who that is. Is that okay?
Okay. Oh yeah, I don't see them. I don't see them there, but okay. Oh, I see. Yeah, sure. Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, I've got to tell you this is true. And it won't be the same for all of you. You will not all be ground down the same way because you don't have the same characteristics. You don't have the same karma. You don't have the same life experience, even in this life. Amelia's life is going to be different from Joey's life. The lady that I first talked to, and Joey's life is going to be different from Tyra's life, and Tyra's life is going to be different from Amelia's life. I mean, we're all here for different reasons, but we're going the same direction. You see, we're all in these little sailboats, and we all have our own little sail with our own little name painted on our sail, and our own little, we're sailing in the same direction, but the wind is catching each individual sail on each individual boat different way. Okay. Because they're all made of different materials. They're all made of different life materials. Yes, ma'am. Is there a question?
No, Chrism, it was not being used, that line. I don't know what it was about, so they're gone. The person is gone.
Okay.
I like that image of the sailboats, and it's very good.
Yeah, that just kind of appeared. And so it's, and that's the thing, some people, it's, they're going to be in in a very, very harsh scenario for, let's just say, for 3 years. Someone has to go through a very, very, very stringent, very, very hard, very harsh grounding down of the ego for 3 years, okay, where their identity, their self-worth, their emotional stability, their wants, their desires, their fears are all going to be ground down in a way that does not allow them to be what they used to think they were. And this happens to a person, and most people will try to resist this, and they'll keep trying to go back to who they were, trying to go back to how they were, trying to go back to what they were, and the Kundalini will continuously push them away from who they once were, and they'll sit there as they try to resist the process. They'll sit there in their house, not being able to leave, not being able to come or go. They basically spin their wheels, resisting a force that won't allow them to go. It's like an invisible hand that is lifting up the rear end of your car as you try to back out or go forward. Or the front end, depending if you have a front-wheel drive car. What do you say? It lifts the whole car off the pavement. So, and people get trapped in this for a certain amount of time until they figure out that, hey, I am not who I once was. I am not how I once was. I am not the person that I'm trying to reclaim anymore. I have to change. I have to transform. I have to give in to this divine force. And I have to give in to the qualities and the elements, and that even the teacher that the grace has given me to. I have to do this. My ego does not want to do it, but I have to do it. And because my ego doesn't want to do it, that's exactly why I have to do it. Because I don't get to be ruled by my ego anymore. You see what I'm saying? So it's important for us to realize this. These, which we've been discussing here, these are the strategies of living with awakened and activated Kundalini. You don't have to have a spinal sweep to be in this school. The most important aspect, in my opinion, of an awakening or the Kundalini involvement in a person's life is the activation. That's a driver. That's the nail getting hit square on the head, being driven into the wood. Okay. People have to go through the fire sometimes to get to the fiesta. Sometimes you have to struggle. Not always does it equal, no pain, no gain. It's not always that equation, but it is sometimes. And that no pain, no gain equation is dependent upon how healthy your surrender is. Some people, some of my closer students, the ones I work with more often, they wonder, it's like, well, how come a person A doesn't have to do what I'm having to do? How come person's, EFG doesn't have to do what I'm having to do? And I tell them, because they're not you and you're not them, and they don't have your equation. It's an unfulfilling answer, but it's a truthful response. People are different. People have different agendas within the Kundalini too. She's going to use you in different ways. It's not going to be the same way. You're going to be your own person. Amelia, you're your own person within this awakening. You're doing your own work. You're writing the words Shakti wants you to write. You're doing the work with the massage therapy that the Shakti wants you to do. And Emma and all the other students that I have are doing the same thing in their very own distinct way. and it's all good. You really can't compare. The only thing you can really, see is, where people are slipping up, it's like cashing into the ego or, going into competition. You can see that from a mile away. But, it's, those things need to be corrected. They need to do what you're doing all the time, Centaur, is the reversal. You need to look at, what does my ego want? Why does it want it? Well, then let's change that. Let's do the exact opposite. It wants me to go into McDonald's, and it wants me to have a hamburger that will last outside in the wild for 10 years without decomposing. Yeah, this is what my ego wants me to have. It's true. This is what my ego is saying. Oh yeah, I want to have that. Everybody wants to eat at McDonald's, and so, but you need to do the exact opposite. That you need to go to an organic store to eat something that's very healthy for the body, something that is good for the body, not something that just tastes good but is destructive to the body. And I'm going to put you in the blue for a second there, Centaura. And I'm going to go over to Rosemary. And I'm going to ask, Rosemary, do you have any announcements that you would like to make today?
Yes, I do, and I have it right here in front of me. But I also have Jillian of Norwich. Is she the one you were thinking of before? She's the one who did a lot, I think, was the herbs and the food. And Hildegard of Bingen she did a lot of artwork.
Hildegard of Bingen, yeah. Yeah, well, she actually she made paintings of the entities that were trying to possess her.
Yes.
That's how you know.
Yes. Well,
yeah.
Thank you for what you were saying all along here. It is helpful on what the ego, how much it takes over. That's where I'm finding myself in this process of what my announcement is about. This is my own part of the journey. But the announcement is that we have a Kundalini seminar coming. Chrism will be here in October 28th and 29th in the town of Mankato, which is an hour's drive south of the cities, and we'll have people coming into the airport. We will be able to take care of that. And it is, again, October 28th and 29th. My information is rosemaryg@usinternet.com. My phone number, 651-329-9615. And there is nothing that gives me more joy than to talk about the seminar and your coming, Chrism, and the value of it in our Kundalini journeys. And I am completely clear with gratitude that is how I was led into this Kundalini life that I have, into this service that is a treasure in my heart to be able to be doing, and just great joy. And thank you for being on with the web radio today. It was really a great opportunity. Did I cover everything?
Thank you, Rosemary. I think so. I think you did. But I also want to thank you and Joey and Katie. The trinity of Kundalini, sacred femininity that is bringing this into the Twin Cities area, and I'm very, very grateful to all three of you. And please keep up that work. Keep bringing that light and grace into that area there, and I'm looking forward, very much so, to engaging you at that time. So thank you, Rosemary.
Thank you.
And Santara, do you have an announcement about Berlin?
I do, Chrism. Come and meet Chrism in Berlin. Manisha is organizing this seminar, and it's happening on the 16th and 17th of September. That's a month before the one in the USA. So it'll be a weekend seminar as is usual. So it'll be Saturday and Sunday from 9 in the morning until with a lunch break and then dinner in the evening. And we typically all eat with each other then too. Now, the thing I want to speak about just for a minute, and I'm just saying this off the top of my head because I know that there is an interest in coming to Berlin, and yet people are possibly considering waiting until the last moment before they send their deposit. And I'm going to ask people, first of all, there's an early bird price if you pay before the end of July. And I would ask people if they could please contact Manisha and send a deposit, if not the full amount, because we really do need, Manisha needs to get Chrism his flight, and we need to do that as soon as possible. And the early bird price of €185 for a seminar in monetary terms is really good value. In terms of what you'll receive, it's priceless. So I'd ask you, if you're coming, contact Manisha, please, and let us get Chrism's flight up and organised, because, you know, in order for this event to actually happen, we need to get in the deposits. So go to Facebook and you will see under Kundalini seminars and events with Chrism. Just put that into Facebook and you will see all the details there. Manisha's email address is there, and she is also on Facebook. So please, I'm encouraging you, contact her, come to Berlin and experience a wonderful Kundalini weekend in September. So that's
and how do you spell her name again? How do you spell Manisha's Facebook?
Yeah, it's Maneesha, Manish. And she's also on the Kundalini Awakening group. She's after posting this on all the groups. So you will see Chrism's beautiful smiling face and go into the picture there, and all the information comes up. It's a nice photo of you, Chrism. So please, guys, I would love to meet you. We'd all love to meet you there in Berlin. Contact Manisha.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you very much. And now, have you had an opportunity to collect any questions from the groups?
I have a few, just a couple of questions, Chrism. Okay, so here we go. The first question is connected with what you were speaking about, and it's from the group. Approximately how many physical lives does a soul need to reach Kundalini Awakening?
Jeez Louise, that is such a mundane question being put.
I know.
Sacred thing. I mean, how many lives? It's like you would remember any of them. It will take what it needs to take. Some people, some people go faster than others. Some people, it's not going to be the same for each person because we have different levels of karma that we're going through. So you can't average it out. I mean, that's an impossible question to answer. It'll take what it needs to take.
Well, the first half of the question maybe is, does it mean that if a person reached Kundalini Awakening in his or her life and then lived life led by Kundalini and its qualities as they are given in the safeties, after death, he or she will be free from life and death, physical reincarnation cycle? ?
Well, it is untrue. This is not true. It is not true. I got to say this again, that once you have the Kundalini, that all your karma is taken care of. This is not true at all. Okay. It's an assumption, and it's an incorrect assumption that's been put out by some specific belief systems. You can have plenty of karma left to deal with after you have the Kundalini. It's just that the Kundalini will really, really, really push you to deal with that karma rather than ignore it. You don't get to ignore it anymore. Okay. So after you have lived a certain amount of lifetimes within the Kundalini, then yes, the option will be given not to take another life. that option will be given, but it's not always taken by people. People understand the importance of bringing humanity into the divine state. And so those Kundalini consciousness will continue to incarnate on this world in order to provide points of grace for the massive amounts of humanity that are here right now, like 9 billion, and allow that point of grace to permeate the environment, the air, the water, the land, the food, the consciousness of humanity, and the many other levels of conscious creation that are on this world. So they will come back because they are giving service to the divine grace that is pouring through them. It's this level of divine love that is so powerful, that is so strong, that is so amazing beyond words. I remember going up into it when I did that ayahuasca in Peru. It's so strong, it's so physical and spiritual that it every cell that you are becomes that which it is. And not the it is not the cell, the it is that divine love. And so, that goes into the core of your own creation of what you are, the self-awareness that you are. And you will go as that divine flow wants you to go. And it's a beautiful thing all the time. So you'll come back. And I think this is like my second or third time back with Kundalini. So you will come back, and you will be of service. You will be that point of grace. You will be that communication of divine flesh upon a physical world. Until it is time for you to obey the flow of grace away from this world and to another world or to another space or place within the dimensional folds that allow you to do the will of grace in the ways that grace will have you do and where it will have you do it. Over.
Thank you, Chrism. There's a question about Shaktipat. Can we give healing to others when one is receiving Shaktipat for those 7 days?
It's best not to. The thing that pops into my head right now is physician, heal thyself, i.e., heal yourself first before you have the egotistic desire to heal others. And healing yourself means get yourself straight first before you even think to give others levels of grace that you aren't even processing yet. Over.
Yikes. Okay.
Well, it's true. It is true. I mean, people, they think they can just, if they read anything that has been written by me, and you don't do Reiki. You don't stick your hands out and go, oh, spirits of the universe, enter my hand. You don't do that. You don't, feel that because Chrism is giving you energy right now that, wow, Chrism's giving me energy. I'm going to give energy to that person there. It's going to be fine. They're going to get healed. Because they haven't been practicing the safeties. Not that it would work. It's not going to work anyway. But it's an irresponsible attitude, and it's an ignorant understanding of what divine conscious energy does and why it does what it does. It's an assumption.
Okay, and Chrism, suppose this question was from somebody who was speaking of, Kundalini healing, and they're following the safeties, and they're asked, perhaps badly phrased, maybe they're asking, should they abstain from Kundalini healing during the Shaktipat?
Yes.
And you're saying yes.
Unless they're Kundalini.
Yeah.
Unless they're Kundalini, unless the Kundalini says otherwise, then yes.
Okay. Would that include the Kundalini healing group as well, yes?
Yeah.
I'm sorry now for asking the same question again. I'm just asking for the, Okay, thank you, Chrism. The next question is, does sometimes blasphemy against Kundalini lead to severe punishment or karma?
What is that question now? What was the first part?
Yes, badly phrased. I'll rephrase it. Does blasphemy against Kundalini lead to severe punishment or karma?
Blasphemy against Kundalini? Did they actually say that? Blasphemy?
Yes. Yes, they say does sometimes blasphemy. Yes, they do. Against Kundalini.
Blasphemy? Well, not necessarily.
What blasphemy, Chrism? Can you say what blasphemy is first?
Well, blasphemy would be severe disrespect or severe, denying of authority, denying of respect, denying. Just a second. Hold on here. Let's see. How do I do this? No, I can't do that. Well, can you hear me?
I can, Chrism, yes.
Good. Okay, all right. Just a second here. Just a second. I have to figure out how to work this phone. You don't necessarily get punished by Kundalini along the lines of how we would punish our children or people who break the laws of this society. We don't get punished that way. We can get punished that way. It's not saying that it never happens, but it's not typically something that we would. Can you hear all that? Can you hear everything that's going on here?
Yes, Chrism. Yes, absolutely. Yeah. No change in the sound.
All the ups and downs. Oh, okay. No change in the sound.
No, it sounds great.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, good. Just a second, please. Just a second. My ride is calling me and asking me. So I'm going to go a little longer than at first I was just going to do an hour. Remember, but because it's
Well, we're probably.
Well,
I have one more question.
Just a second.
Don't postpone it too long.
To the studio. Okay. So
I'm going to.
Just a second. So as we do, as we look at blasphemy and we look at disrespecting, basically what the person is asking is it okay to disrespect God? And yeah, you can disrespect God. People say God damn it all the time, or Jesus H Christ, or that's God to the Christians. They see all kinds of things, and they're not struck by lightning for saying it. Now, the deeper you go into Kundalini, the more you resist the Kundalini. That is worse than blasphemy. Because then the hand will literally come out and whack your happy little ass right back into line. And there's nothing like getting spanked from God. nothing quite like that. It's a very unique experience, and which I have had. So yeah, you don't necessarily get punished. You don't necessarily get punished the way we would punish our children. But if you resist the Kundalini continuously, you will have you will have generated a response, shall we say. Go ahead, Centaur. I interrupted you. Go ahead.
No, I was going to just, while you were doing that there, I thought you needed to text or something. I was going to give out the place for donation. Will I do that now, or will I continue with the questions?
Sure. Go ahead.
I'll do that now. Okay, so you can go to two places if you'd like to make a donation. And every week, again, I say, if you can make a donation, please feel free to do so. It is very helpful. It is really gratefully received. And it, so much is done with it because it expands out into all the people that Chrism serves, all the people that Chrism helps, all the Kundalini people. So in giving a donation, you're helping Chrism, you're serving the Kundalini, and you're also giving love and service to your fellow Kundalini brothers and sisters. So the two places you can go to are www.chrism-kundalini.blogspot.com or www.kundalinisafeties.com, and you'll find a donate button or how to make a donation on the page there. So thanks a million, guys. And okay, Chrism, so will I ask the next question?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So does a person need spirit guides during while practicing spirituality and Kundalini, or can that lead to intrusion of self-freedom?
The spiritual guidance scenario, the best spiritual guides don't do that much. They interject at key areas, and they don't. If you're about to walk off a cliff, and in some way, shape, or form, they might step in and say, "Hey, turn right or turn left," or maybe you shouldn't do this type of activity, or some sort of a thing. But they're not there to tell you what color of socks you should wear in the morning. If there is guidance, they're doing that to you. You need to go far away from that guidance. Don't listen to anything they're saying. I'm not a real fan of spirit guides. I've had them. I've had them. I mean, it's not a bad. Not all spiritual guidance is bad. Within a Kundalini context, it can be very, very disruptive. I mean, look what's happening to you, right? That entity could have come to you, perhaps in a different way, or like to Cole or Vincent or whoever else has the entity issue, and go, "Oh, yeah, I am God. You shall follow me, and I shall lead thee upon the path of righteousness." Right? And you're hearing this in your head. You're hearing this telepathically. You like my Cecil B. DeMille?
I'm running if that voice is ever used to me. Like I'm out of there.
Anyway. So, if you hear an entity like that.
In a nice way, not the voice. That would entice you to think it was benevolent.
Exactly.
And
it's like, it's like, it's like, Amelia, this is Chrism. I think we could figure out another way to collect the funds, if you know what I mean. I'll send some of the angels down and we'll do a deal. What do you say?
Oh my God, that's
really,
you know who you remind me of? You're like Jake.
Jake.
I know.
Jake, who I saw just recently.
That was supposed to be someone's favorite.
Jake is
I'm sorry, this is all talk.
Anyway, So you don't want to, spiritual guidance can be a very iffy type of scenario. And a lot of them are there. A lot of entities surround a spiritually potent individual, like a Kundalini individual, and they interject They're like being, it's like being invaded by a cloud of different consciousness, like a stadium of people floating around you in your aura, and they poke in whenever they see an opening or an opportunity to poke in, and they'll say, oh, don't do that, or oh, do that, or those types of scenarios. You don't really need it. It just gets in the way. And it can be very confusing. It can be very detrimental to a person. And, I got emailed by a woman that was dominated by thousands of entities back in like 2007, 2008. And she came up, and we did work with her. And we did the ocean work with her, Amelia, without her going under. That would have been too dangerous there with the white sharks there. But she did some ocean work, and the ocean is a very potent anti-entity scenario. But you don't want to go now. I know some of you listening right now have spiritual guides, and they're saying this or that. Oh, listen to him, don't listen to him, and that's fine. Whatever. I don't recommend spirit guides that counsel you along the line of the egotistic. If they're counseling you along the lines of, say, the safeties, or following the Kundalini, or surrendering, or doing the practice, or doing the work like, say, Joey and Rosemary and Katie are doing in Minnesota, then that's very helpful. That is pro-Kundalini. That is helping bring more light into this world, which really needs more light. And so if the guidance is supporting that, then I support that guidance. It's as simple as that.
Okay.
We have a new caller.
Oh. Do you want to go straight for it?
Well, yeah, let's see how they're doing here.
Yeah.
Okay. Go ahead.
Hi, 347,
anyway,
you're on air. Okay, maybe not. I go over.
It's okay. Just let them listen. So that type of spiritual guidance that is supportive of Kundalini is good. If the guidance is more towards the egotistic or the expressed egotistic, fear of loss, want of gain, competition, my way or the highway, that type of thing, then you need to pull back from that level of guidance and don't listen to it. But if it's supportive of the Kundalini, definitely listen to it. And remember, use the safeties as a measuring device on whether or not any kind of spiritual guidance is supportive of Kundalini. Is it supporting a spiritual practice? Go ahead.
No, I was going to say that because I think sometimes, and these guides can be full of, love and this and that, but it's not very productive, or it's very, I don't know, it's not making much of a change in a person's life. It's not supporting a practice, and then after a while it begins to intrude a little bit more, and it can move a person away after they have accepted that it is good.
Right. Yeah, so that's a good question. Is there another one?
No, there's another one, Chrism. Here we go. Well, actually, it's more a statement I thought maybe you might comment on. It's somebody on the group who says, Master, I met somebody whom I know, and I know him since ages. I was so amazed, and I'm so don't know what to do. I just loved him instantly, and I feel like telling everybody about this. I feel like I can't live without him. He's a soulmate. I just thought maybe you might comment on that kind of a meeting.
Sure. Kundalini will amplify feelings of love, feelings of connection, feelings of trust, feelings of sacred stimulation in 1,000-fold. Kundalini just takes it through the roof. And when you meet somebody that normally you would be attracted to without the Kundalini activation or awakening, well, with the Kundalini activation and awakening, it is a tremendous pull. And people immediately go, oh, my twin flame, I found them, or soulmate, or, any of the really spontaneous expressions of love and connection and source and fullness and, connection, all these things. And it's not necessarily so. It is a Kundalini response rather than a New Age descriptor of ultimate, love found, So this happens so often to Kundalini people, and each new person that comes, oh, soulmate, my twin flame, all of this, and it turns out that when they start having to do the actual emotional work with each other, well, then that twin flame becomes a twin ember, and pretty soon it might become a twin charcoal. Okay, a burned out twin charcoal briquette. A new twin flame has to come on. So it's not always the case. Sometimes, very rarely, it is the true deal, the real deal. And that, of course, will be honored regardless, because you'll be able to do the emotional work. You'll be able to do the ego work and still have a loving, beautiful, vibrant relationship and connection. But most of the time, people are responding from amplified loneliness, amplified attraction, amplified need, amplified connection, amplified energetics, amplified divine consciousness, and all of these things in different wavelengths, and for a time, I think that will serve that individual. But I'm seeing it as not as absolute as that person is suggesting. Over.
Thanks, Chrism. Some weeks back, you wrote on the group, all human souls are immortal. Kundalini souls are divine. Can you speak a little of that, Chrism?
All human souls are immortal. That's how you're able to take a life and a life and a life and a life. We're talking about souls, not bodies here. Okay? So all human souls are immortal. They live thousands of lives. Kundalini souls are divine. That means they have merged into the divine consciousness, and they are no longer merely immortal. They are divine immortal. And that is a very, very different deal. That's having one foot in heaven and one foot in earth at the same time. Whereas the immortal aspect would be having one foot in karma and the other foot on the earth at the same time. Karma is what makes a human soul immortal. Kundalini is what makes a human soul divine. The divine flesh, the Word of God made divine. That's Kundalini. Over.
Thank you, Chrism. So that's the end of the questions.
That's good. Yes, that's a good ending for them too. And I want to thank you, Santara, for coming on the show. I want to thank Manisha Manish and Rosemary and Joey and Katie for putting on the two seminars that I have coming up in October and September. I would like to thank Jake here in PA for the fine visit that I had with him and the other people that I've been allowed to visit here in PA and in Pennsylvania, United States, East Coast. And Santara, thank you for being so persevering with getting on here. Would you say that the sound is better with this? Is the sound better than normal?
It sounds good, and I could hear you actually, Chrism, before I got into the studio. I went through the Facebook group, and it sounded really good there. So I don't know what the difference is, but it sounds good.
Well, the difference is I have a noise canceling headset on, the kind that the truck drivers use. So I might be using that more and more often. So.
You're in a cafe, aren't you? In a restaurant there, which must have a certain level of noise, has it?
Exceptionally noisy, yes.
Wow, sound of that is coming through nothing.
Isn't that cool? Well, here's the technology. All right.
Yeah.
Well, I am going to. Any last words, Santara?
Thank you, everybody. Thanks to Vicky and to Jari, Kundalini, and Michelle and Emma in the chat room, and the others who left a little bit a while ago. Thanks very much, Chrism, and everybody who's listening in the archives. See you next week.
Thank you, everyone, for listening. You can reach the YouTubes at chrism.kundalini on the YouTube channel network. You can reach us in the Yahoo network at Kundalini Awakening Systems 1 at yahoogroups.com, on Facebook at Kundalini Awakening ! And Kundalini Awakening Systems 2 and Kundalini Awakening Systems 3 and Kundalini Healing on the Facebook network. And I want to thank everybody who's listening now and who's listening in the archives, the future people. Thank you for listening, and I will end it the way I began it. Have a beautiful, beautiful week, ladies and gentlemen.